Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us. Coming to you live from our studio here in sunny South Florida, bringing you more board game coverage. Tonight was our spotlight of A Wrinkle in Time by USAopoly, based off of the movie A Wrinkle in Time, coming to theaters soon.
Which is based off the book.
A Wrinkle in Time. There you go.
Really? Are you sure it's the title of the book, though?
I think so.
All right.
But first up, some introductions. Who are we? I'm Matt.
I'm Ann.
I'm Josh.
And we are Twist Gaming. Thank you all for joining us. And big shout out to USAopoly for sponsoring this stream and all of this week's streams with none other than A Wrinkle in Time.
Round of applause.
Yeah, that. So, if you haven't had a chance, definitely go back and watch the spotlight that we just did. It was a lot of fun. Spoiler alert, we all won!
Yay!
Yay, cooperative games. So typically we like to talk to the winner, but we're all winners today. I mean, we're all winners usually.
It's been a really long time since we've played a cooperative game where we've all won. Like, that kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who wants to start out first? Anne, you are the oldest, so you start first.
Yeah, that's what the rules say.
Leaving. Leaving. I really enjoyed this game. Look, it's been a while since I've had a game that really makes me think things like strategy or what I'm going to do. It's like chess. You have to think of the impact 3 steps down, and it was kind of deceptively heavy for me. This encoder thing, which is what I'm sure you guys all hear us in folder. Oh man, you hear us jingling around because you called it an encounter. Is such a neat, really different kind of thing. There's
What's its actual name?
A trihexadecimal.
Trihexaflexagon.
Oh, you're such a nerd.
Hey.
How did you remember that?
Because he's a nerd.
So this is a trihexaflexagon. This is a hexagon that's connected, so it's got 3 unique faces. So right here we've got face number 1, and by manipulating it, and it's a lot easier to do with 2 hands, but I'm going to do it with 1 here, you can get a second face, and then one more. Let's go.
Do it!
Third face, because I'm a superstar there. Also, you could flip it over, and it goes from a full to a broken side, and you get the picture. You could flex it around.
6 faces.
You get it? You get the picture? Get it?
So if you noticed, each one of these individual sides had a number, and that's what uses this kind of a scoring mechanism in the game to try and reach a set value by your different locations.
It's so cool, and it's so out of the box, and it's so unique, and it's so appropriate for the theme of the game, where you're talking about folding time, and here you are folding.
Yeah.
You know, I'm messing it up again. The enfolder. The enfolder.
Yeah. So
it's easier for me to remember.
I'm gonna step on your toes just a little bit here. And when we first opened up the box, I thought that this would be a little too simplistic. I mean, it's cool the way it functions, and I was using it as a fidget toy for about a day and a half before we got there. So I got the mechanism of how to actually open and close it. But actually getting your hands into the game and playing it, it's like you said, it's deceptively heavy.
Yes.
In a nice way.
Yes.
I was a little afraid that it would be a little too light of a game, but no, this was a lot of fun. And the fact that, so for those of you that don't know, this is actually marketed as a STEM game, so science, technology, engineering, math. So there's programming aspects to it, which are very much seen in terms of the operation chain on the board, where you're going to be doing individual commands and then finally a communal group of commands as well. And then trying to remember the correct orientation of your enfolder and how to flex it and how that's going to affect you.
When you flip, what it flips to and everything else.
Yeah.
How the programming, in fact, how your manipulation impacts your output.
Yeah. And I really do enjoy the fact that they included 2 sides to the player board, so you can kind of customize the way you play. And I am always a huge proponent of unique player abilities. The 3 of us each have unique abilities for each one of the die that we're drafting, and then when you flip over the board, it changes everything and throws it on its head. I really like that.
It definitely lends to the replayability of the game. You know, I really got I got a little like when she had mentioned that this was a game that that the game's darkness meter, which determines whether or not you fail a level, the way that it was written is was in such a way that you didn't die, you didn't lose the game, you just had to retry your level. And she had mentioned that she had done that because the game would be marketed towards children, and she didn't want them to feel frustrated and give up, which I totally get now because the game's really heavy, and it's kind of a little frustrating at first to pick it up and figure out what's going on. So if I was frustrated at figuring this out and then frustrated because I lost the level, I'd flip the table because that's what every good gamer does. But when she said kids, I was like, this is gonna be. I'm gonna be playtesting this and picturing if it is a good fit for my kids. But
it's a good fit for you.
Yeah, man.
Is it good fit? Is it a good fit for your kids?
That's a very good question, Josh. I was thinking about it, and I was like, it would be really cool. Like, both of my kids are in STEM. So my oldest son is in a computer science academy in high school, and my youngest one is really into robotics. And I think that because those are my children's interests, specifically the operation chain would be a lot of fun for them. And, David, my youngest one, really likes, like, pretty things. And one of the things that I most enjoy about the game is definitely the art. I mean, you cannot say enough good things about the art. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's fits the movie well. It makes me really excited to kind of see the movie.
So, Josh, how about you? I mean, you are actually a programmer.
Yeah,
so
I am.
How did this feel to you?
Slightly overwhelming. Just because it's just like, all right, I'm looking. I could see this being I would have a lot more fun with this as a single because it does have a solo mode.
That was really cool too.
Yeah.
And you're just manipulating one, and that I definitely see for younger kids makes it a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
When you're just dealing with one, and then 2-player, 3-player makes it like
insane. I'm really glad we got to do 3-player.
Yeah, it makes it really much more difficult. And
try to keep track of everything that's going on.
And I like some thought in my game. It might have been a little bit too much for me. Like not to be like there's a certain level of thought, and I'm like, all right. Like I was at the point where we're kind of playing. I'm like, I'm just gonna chuck dice and grab them, and I'll figure everything out in the programming phase because like I'm not gonna try to pre-set up anything, and I just really didn't.
I think the game kind of lends itself to the ability to play it in multiple ways.
Yeah.
So you can play it in either the like super heavy analysis, how each thing is going to affect everything, but then you have to realize that the more dice that are left, the more random events are still going to happen. Yeah. So it's kind of you have to weight everything, or you can just chuck dice and then figure everything out in the programming phase. And I think that's actually a very viable solution, just because of the fact that there are things that extend the range of the rounds, the windows.
The only thing like I was kind of like pre-programming before that was when we had the flip commands. Was like, all right, do we need a high number or low number? When I put this in play,
which way
do we want to flip everyone so when they do flip, they're going to be on the high or low side?
The
Because that was about the only part like I wanted to predict. But if like the inward, outward too, I'm like, I don't really.
The programming and the strategy too wasn't just limited to the manipulation of the enfolder. We also had certain things like your combination of Mrs. Witch and my combination of my Mr. Murray. If you go back and watch the playthrough video, you'll see how our die interacted with our individual character abilities.
It was synergistic, and we could have made it slightly more recursive too. I think there was some stuff.
I have happy medium, the return one too.
Yeah, so we could have gotten kind of ridiculous with it, which would have been fun.
But we had to strategize which die we were going to draft from the pool.
Yeah.
But definitely you could see the complexity of the game and the fact that in the early rounds we struggled. We failed.
That's a lot.
And
like the darkness went all the way up to the top.
I really thought we were going to die.
It did. But then by the end of the game, we kind of got everything firing on all cylinders. And that we didn't just learn how to play the game. We learned how to do like the programming aspects of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not just...
And the game ramps up throughout it. So like... All right, we screwed up the first hour. We got the hand of this, and then it's like, all right, we're going to make it a little bit harder.
It wasn't completely crippling the first time around, yeah. But, again, also in terms of ramping, that's why I enjoy the fact that there's two sides to the player cards, too. So you can increase your difficulty.
So there's more locations?
Oh, so there's 5 different locations.
There's 3 different locations for each 5, so there's 15 total locations.
I thought that was cool. That would be really interesting to see.
So it'd be interesting to see, like... So this is location 1 of 1. So
you know what I would have
Meg's
liked?
bedroom?
Meg's bedroom here is a that one there. So it's a 3 to 4. I'm sorry, a 9 to 12.
So we had 11 to 12 and 8 to 11. So they're all higher, but they all change. And so that the ranges you're going from can change pretty easily. Oh, this is 5 of 5. That's the wrong one.
But yeah, so that's it. It adds some variability and replayability to the game as well to make it so you're not just repeating the same scenarios over and over again.
Yeah.
That's what my house looks like.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you have kids, guys.
Sure. Blame it on the kids.
Yeah, blame it on the kids.
Okay, so is there any other positives that y'all want to talk about before we get into the critique section?
No, I'm happy sitting here with you. Look, now I understand why fidget spinners were such a big hit for the kids.
Yeah. So, now critique section. We talk about any aspects of the game we would change if we had the opportunity to. And I'm going to start this off with Josh because I'm going to pose the question to you about how the colors affected you because for those of you that don't know, Josh is colorblind.
Mrs. Whatsits and Mrs. Witch look identical to me almost.
Okay. So Mrs. Whatsit is the teal dye and Mrs. Witch is the gray dye. I have to actually admit when we were setting up the game, I'm not colorblind.
You had trouble with it.
It's they're that. Well, that's funny.
You couldn't have placed that any better.
That's so creepy.
But so I actually had some trouble in a low light environment before we had our streaming light set up, our camera lights. I had a little trouble designating the two of those. So I could definitely
differentiating.
See differentiating the two of those. Once you start learning what is gonna pop up on the dice, you can kind of differentiate them a little better.
Yeah, like I knew that Mrs. Witch had the flip.
Yeah.
And that the other one had the inwards.
Correct.
So like I could tell by looking at the dice once I knew it, but
before that, I'm sure.
Before that, I did not know. And there's not there's a kind of a cheat sheet in the rule book, but that's the only place for me. That's how I figured out which one was which.
Right. Did you have any other issues throughout the game color-wise, or that's pretty much the only real problem you had there?
The only one was just those two. Other colors are pretty much pretty good. There's really not any issues with the other colors. It was just those two that really got me mixed up.
Okay.
Actually, the first thing I did was took all them out and I lined them up, and that was the only two I got wrong. Was that. So.
Anything else that you think you would want to change or add to the game?
I would have liked some quick reference thing for what all the icons meant. It's in the book, so I literally had to pull up the page.
So this is the page in the actual book itself. So the dice symbols. This gives you a breakdown of what they all are.
Yep.
I agree. It would be nice to possibly have that on the player board, so you didn't have to whip out the rule book and pass it around the table.
Yep. Or an extra card or something. That would have been nice.
Something to that effect. How about you, Anne?
Let's start off. If Josh will start off with colorblind, I'll start off with ADD.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned it during stream just because I guess, sometimes you really realize how certain things about how your brain works impact things like games or day-to-day life. So with ADD, you have poor short-term memory, which is so difficult when you're trying to memorize and figure out how these encoders go. And I think that I asked you guys like 5 or 6 times. You're like, okay, broken side up, how is this going? Full side down, how does this go? And I couldn't remember.
I flubbed on it a few times, so it's not even straight ADD. It's difficult to keep track of it, so I could definitely see how it would be more problematic.
I think I would really enjoy running this in the puzzle mode, the one-player mode, because then I can go a little slower. I think you kind of get the pressure playing with two other people. Like, okay, well I can't hold up the game. I'm gonna have my Alice's paralysis.
We tend to be a little bit more on the alpha gamer side of things too. So we tend to drive decisions in a direction.
Grab dies off my player board. Oh?
What am I talking about? It didn't happen.
I would have really liked... Okay, so the movie is based on a book. So essentially the game is based on a book. I would have really liked some flavor text and some explanation and some storyline between the various locations.
That would have been cool if there was like a little blurb on the individual cards there.
I think that would have been really nice and a nice nod to the fact that this started off as a novel. I mean, it wouldn't have followed the exact storyline, I'm guessing, as in the movie, but give me a story.
I could see that being a nice little addition to the game. maybe even a description of the character or something?
I want to go back because I missed something.
Okay.
Look, these glasses are so cool. I remember being a kid and like these glasses and the super spy secret stuff was like the shiz. It was so like it was the thing. Oh, it's really hard. I really liked how it worked in the camp too. Can you do it?
Boop.
That's so cool. I mean, that's so cool.
So
And it's sciencey because it's like you've got to think. Well, why can I read the words clear when you put the red film over it?
So
Magic.
personally, I'm gonna say I wish that this was used in more stages of the game, just because we used it in only one part of the game,
That's true.
and otherwise it felt like it was a toss to the side item. So this was only used when you're trying to free Mr. Murray from his cell. So this is you. That's one card is set in the beginning of the game, and then you read it and figure out what to do. So I personally would have liked to have seen some additional incorporation of this into the game, just so it felt more ingrained.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I really don't have. I don't think I have any additional like criticisms of the game. I think we touched on a lot of the stuff where the art and the iconography is really beautiful on the game, and aside from just some very brief color issues in the beginning, on first glance, I didn't have any issues as the game progressed. The symbology is actually very
Intuitive.
Yeah, like
Flip inward, outward. Yeah.
flip
I
over.
got it. Yeah.
It's very, very simple.
The only ones I think were a little confusing were the die ones, and that's only because I think they're just so rare.
Yeah, there's only. I think this is only on 2 of the faces of this one die in particular. So that's the only time where it's actually going to be seen. So I could see where that's not as apparent, just because you're not seeing it as often.
Right. Right.
Really love I like programming in games. I really love the operation chain.
Because you're a dork.
Are there any other criticisms that you all have?
What's that
for
called
the
again?
game? The enfolder?
Yeah. No. What's it actually called?
Flexa. Oh God.
No,
Oh, you were so good.
Trihexaflexagon. I had it the first time.
Say
like
it
that.
5 times fast.
No.
I couldn't do Sally. No.
So I think this brings us to the point where we talk about the most important question of the evening, and that's, would you play this game again? Let's go down the line. Josh, you first.
I would try this out in solo or 2-player mode. I don't know if I would play this at 3 again.
A little heavy at 3 for you?
A little too heavy for me. And yeah, just my playstyle.
Okay. Anne?
Play it with the kids. I don't know if I play it with you guys again. I play it with the kids.
Okay.
I'd have to play the 3-player, and then it'd be a little rough, or I'd play it by myself. That was cool.
Would you play 2-player with the kids and just kind of help them along?
Maybe, yeah.
I think it would be very cool to play this with play this with your kids, where you have like a pad and paper, and then you could actually write down.
Oh, the impact of the die. They do like the programming out on paper.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then they could watch how it unfolds and see the mistakes that they made in the process.
Are you saying my children would make mistakes?
I made mistakes. I think it was a little heavy with 3, but I enjoyed it. I actually really like that, just because
challenge.
the challenge that it poses in kind of doing a group think, where I don't want to figure out what you had. I want to ask you what you had, and then see where we're at and how it would affect everything, and like kind of be a little more synergistic with it in terms of trying to figure out each individual aspect going around. But I'm super intrigued to try the one-person mode, the solo mode, just because I think that I would love to sit down and, so on all honesty, I think I'd like to try playing it solo, but playing as 3 characters too. I want to see how that would operate, just because that would be pretty darn complex, and I want to try it. And
I would rather do that than play a 3-player. Because I feel like you just more control kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I'm
it's
a control freak, you know.
You guys have control issues.
A little bit.
And I definitely, now that I just said it out loud, I kind of want to see how it feels playing with a pad and paper.
Yeah.
Especially in a solo mode. So, I think that's 3 yeses across the board, right?
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you guys would like to add in terms of the first look at A Wrinkle in Time? I think we touched on all the points pretty well.
Yeah.
Everything.
I still really like the art. It's so pretty.
This
It
is
is.
just my
I
favorite
might.
new fidget
It
cube.
really is, but I might find. I really kind of want this as a phone wallpaper.
It is beautiful. The board itself is absolutely
I like the
gorgeous.
background for the
Yeah,
stream.
yeah. The stream is so pretty, especially because we're purple. The colors. But no,
Looks so nice.
we've been playing with these things for like 3 days now, and I can't put it down. It's a lot of
I've
fun.
been playing through the whole review
Yeah, I know.
So
I
you
can tell. I
probably
can
could
hear
hear
your
the
clicking.
clicking.
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing.
All right, so thank you all for joining us this evening. This has been another fantastic spotlight with Twist Gaming, showing off A Wrinkle in Time by USAopoly. So big shout out again to USAopoly and A Wrinkle in Time for being a sponsor of tonight's stream and all of this week's streams. And thank you all for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Check out the spotlight on video on demand if you hadn't had a chance yet. But other than that, Twist Gaming is going to be saying goodbye to y'all for now. I'm Matt.
I'm Ann.
I'm Josh.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.